Good morning. Welcome to episode 9. I'm Luke.
And I am George.
And today we're chatting to Nate, the creator of Chainfaces, which is a generative art project on Ethereum that launched last week and went viral within the NFT community. We chat to Nate about who he is, how the project came about, and why randomly generated immutable ASCII faces are so compelling. Stay tuned at the end, we give away DeFi Gerbil and announce the next NonFunGerbil who needs rocketing into existence with your creativity. We hope you enjoy the episode.
Welcome to the NonFunGerbils podcast, the show about digitally scarce gerbils, non-fungible assets, and the growing decentralized economy. Nate from Chainfaces, thank you so much for coming. I first came across your project just as it was sort of beginning to get a bit crazy, and everyone was having a go at it. I immediately was confused by the golf aspect of it, and I was trying to work it out because I was looking at my face and I was like, is that golf? Is it golf ball shaped? And anyway, I think gradually it dawned on me that there was something deeper going on here. Anyway, thank you so much for joining us. I thought before we sort of dive into your wonderful creation, it's probably worthwhile just getting a sense of who you are and how you came to create this wonderful app.
All right, cool. Yeah, I'm happy to be here. I'm glad you guys reached out to me. It's exciting. I'm a little nervous, but hopefully I'll get in the groove. So I got interested in crypto in late 2017. Of course, put all my money in pretty much, and then rode the crash down 2018. It was just brutal. But in 2018 I was trying to salvage it. So that's kind of how I got into the whole dApp space. And CryptoKitties, of course, just I don't know what it was about them, but I kept circling back to them. I kept trying to figure out, why are people buying these cats? Why is, So anyways, I kept circling back to them, kept trying to figure out what was going on. I started a team in CryptoKitties after getting to know people in the Discord. And really that's where the magic, in my opinion, kind of happens in the NFT space is, you get involved with the communities, you meet a bunch of people who don't actually think you're weird like all your friends do now. And, just a ton of really smart people that just seem to just know everything about every topic. And it just is awesome. That's really, sort of my story into the NFT land. I got into it out of, hoping to save my stash and, and then just found these awesome people.
Clearly that begs the question, have you saved your stash?
Yeah.
Dude, way to go, man. That's just awesome.
It's a long run, but yeah, there's been a number of, I've learned a lot of things. I picked up programming, picked up, writing some simple scripts for some other games. I went to Tron for a little bit, did some things over there, it's really been hustling the space. I just really find it just so much more interesting than what I do at my normal job.
Awesome. So how? Let's zone in a little bit on Chainfaces itself. How did you pick that route to go down, and how did you even think it up in the first place?
All right, so I guess the history with Chainfaces. So Larva Labs, when they launched Autoglyphs, a friend of mine, he mentioned it to me, mentioned it to a couple of us other friends, and we just all thought, oh man, this is it, man. Larva Labs doing another thing. And we were so excited about that project, and I bought, 30 of them, and it just, I was super excited about it, and it just inspired me. I just, this was back in April of last year, but I immediately thought, what'd be cool is generative faces. That would just be so cool. So I took their contract. I tried to make it. I had no idea what I was doing, so I couldn't make it work, and just gave up really until about November. Another friend of mine from, his name is Jim. We'll talk about him a little bit later. He's got a project coming out. But anyways, he was building his project, sharing stuff from it, asking a bunch of us for advice. But, it just inspired me to see what he was doing. And So I said, I'm going to try this again. And I started building another dApp, Tiny Boxes is what I was calling it, which I ultimately didn't release, but got pretty close, decided there's some things I need to change. It's just not ready. And kind of hung in the towel for all of December. Just threw in the towel, said, all right, I don't know if I can do this, But anyway, math token came out, which is just numbers that you add together. Then words came out, just words that you concatenate together. And I just thought, wow, this is cool, man. This is simple. And then the face idea just came right back. I thought, oh man, this is it. Okay, I actually can do it. I can do simple. And from my experience in November building tiny boxes, I actually knew how to do it this time. So just threw it together. Originally, it was going to be similar to words, like the concatenation, and you would buy the symbols, and people could concatenate your symbols to make the faces. But I just thought there's not a lot of longevity with that. I think it'll be more interesting if it's a generative project, more like autoglyphs. The 5 sides of the face are all randomly selected by the contract. There's different rarity schemes on all of those pieces. The golf score is basically a representation of how rare each of those pieces are. But yeah, that's really kind of how it happened. It's something I've been wanting to do. I've been friends with the creator of Math Token. I'm friends with the creator of Word Token. Actually, the Math Token creator, Alex, we were on a CryptoKitties breeding team together. We made, me and him and some other guys, we made, 5,000 cats. We would just make these huge farms. And it was just cool to see people I knew doing things. So it just made me just want to do something.
And can you explain what is Chainfaces for people who are listening who haven't actually seen it?
Yeah, so Chainfaces, I guess the high level would be just on-chain generative ASCII text faces that play golf and are bears sometimes, I guess. Really, there's rarity schemes. There's more depth to it than probably meets the eye if you're just looking through the OpenSea marketplace, but each of the symbols has a rarity scheme depending on which symbol set it's part of. So the contract will generate that depending on, you put in your seed number, which is a lucky number. It doesn't really do anything, but it does add to the salt of the randomness. So, if you hit a good face, you can kind of say that it was you. So that's sort of a little gamification on that piece. But yeah, it's text faces that were randomly generated by the original 10,000 mentors. Some of them, the best golf score that we had, the one it was a 10, which is just outrageous. I think we ran the odds on it is like 1 in 19,000. The highest bear score was a 51%. So that's like, it was like 1 in, I can't remember exactly, but 1 in 10,000 plus something hit. So it's cool to see those kind of things emerge out of it. That's sort of the collectible angle that I was really kind of a throwback to what punks did with their super rare traits. You got Beanie, which there's just barely any of them. You got Alien, obviously. I tried to throw some big bids on them, but none of those guys will go for it at all. Nobody's selling those.
Yeah, you bet. How did you come up with the idea for golf as a thing? Now, like I kind of like golf. Like I don't play all that much, but like when I heard that like the less golf score the better, I had to chuckle to myself and be like, okay, it is probably the uncoolest sport in the world. Fair enough, he's chosen golf, but like there's some really horrid shit out there that you could have chosen. So what? Tell us the thinking behind that.
So golf, it's funny as hell. So, I just thought, this is ridiculous. I got faces, I got golf, I got bears. Yeah. I know where it probably stemmed from. Alex, math creator, he built a tool in CryptoKitties. That idea was originally inspired by this guy that we're also friends with, Carlini. And his idea was to take all the lowest number fancies. So a number 1 would be worth 0 points. A number 10 would be worth 9 points. And his idea was to have that sort of golf angle on all the lowest number fancies. And it was ultimately because he had the best fancy set by a mile, but it brought visibility to what he had built. And a lot of people jumped in and bought a ton of fancies. And I think that's when I actually filled out my fancy set. He had originally called it golf. And then I can't remember where it got rebuilt. I guess it got rebuilt on Kitty Helper, but originally it was they were calling it kind of a golf score, and I just thought, that's just funny. So so I just brought it over because it was kind of the same concept of the more rare a trade is or a face piece is, the lower the score is.
And some have different colored backgrounds. Does that add to the rarity? I've got one that's kind of bare and kind of got a brown background. Does that mean I'm rich?
Well, not yet, but
not yet. Great response. Love that.
The bear percentage, what that actually represents is if you get a bear piece, which is the 0 score. So if you were to have 5 bear pieces, like ID 0, the one that I created for myself, of course, it has all 5 bear pieces. So its golf score is 0. Its bear score is 100. So yeah, the bear percentage comes depending on how many bear pieces you have. If you have 2 bear pieces, they're worth 16 points apiece. And then there's some salt added to that from 0 to 20 added on top of those 16 for each of the 5 pieces. So a maximum of 100%. But yeah, what happens with the background is after a certain point, I think it's 20 is the cutoff. At 20, that's when you start seeing the brown shades. If you have a bear percentage that's higher than 20, then you'll have a brownish background. And the higher your bear percentage, the darker brown the background is. So yeah, the text and the faces, they scale depending on your golf score and your bear percentage. It's kind of a visual indicator.
Did you put everything on chain as well? Like all of the images?
So the faces themselves are on chain. The golf score is on chain. The bear percentage is on chain. The background color is on chain in form of an integer, and the text color is on chain in form of an integer. But I still have to take those, process them in my API, and serve them up to OpenSea. So there's a little bit of magic in that. So really on OpenSea, with the bears, the backgrounds especially, the way that scaling works is really all the faces should at least be a lightish tan. But I just thought visually that's not going to be as impressive. I want, a bear percentage. So I would say that I'm close to on chain. I'm sort of, in the same ballpark as something like autoglyphs. If you look at what their code is outputting, it's not really the autoglyph that you see on their website. There's still a little bit of processing involved. It's very easy to take their instructions and recreate it. And that's really where I'm at with Chainfaces.
I mean, that seems like a very good compromise because you've got all the data that you need to recreate it at any point on chain, and you're just sort of making it look a bit more fancy and tidy by processing it first.
When I first saw your perfect bear that you have in your collection, I didn't know you were the creator, and I had this massive moment of FOMO where I was like, "There's no way this guy has found the ultimate chain face." And I was writing a tweet where I was screenshotting this perfect bear, and I saw, and I just before I sent it, I thought I better find out whether this guy's just some random chap who went on and happened to get like the most expensive chain face ever created ever. And that's when I found out that it was you. So I felt a lot better, and I didn't send that tweet. Which is good because I'd have looked like a right idiot, being like, "Oh my god, this guy's got this thing." And anyway. So I'm glad I did a little bit more research before I sent that one out. Are you at all surprised by how kind of powerful the project is, and how the community has been so positive about it?
So, I knew when I was creating it, I knew that it had the potential, or I felt that it had the viral potential to it. I've spent so much time on Discord, especially just talking to people, meeting people, networking. That was the one piece I wasn't entirely sure on. But as soon as Smurf, the guy who built the Smurf bot in Chainfaces chat, he's a guy I've been friends with for about a year. Online. A lot of these guys, I don't even know their names. I'm just friends with them online. But he built the Smurf bot, which helps you look up stats and stuff like that. And I just thought, oh, that is so cool. Then Jobs built a UI, which is it's just pathetic that I didn't launch with one in the first place. But I was inspired by the simplicity of math and Word. And I thought, maybe you don't need that. I like the purity of And whenever there was, 5,000 being made so fast, I thought, oh, I screwed up, man. I should have built that. Job stepped up, built it for me. I've been friends with him from CryptoKitties for probably over a year. So, I mean, I got lucky that a lot of these guys kind of stepped in and made it a lot better than even I was envisioning. I'm not, like I said, I'm not too surprised that, faces really just, they resonate with people in general. You see faces in everything. So I'm not surprised that the funny little ASCII face, I love the little like Lenny face. I just think that's hilarious. So I wasn't surprised that it had viral potential, but without those guys, yeah, I mean, when they jumped in, I just knew, oh yeah, man, we're doing this. This is happening. This is awesome.
I mean, that makes it, right, doesn't it? It's a community effort, and
definitely
everyone sort of put in their part.
I remember when the popularity of clovers was beginning to grow, and there it was the faces that were the most popular. I don't know if you know that project.
Oh yeah.
and when you're looking at the ones that were most collectible, it was faces. So when I saw Chainfaces, it felt to me like a really nice progression, because in my mind you'd isolated the element that was most entertaining to people. But it as it turns out, there's no connection between those two projects. It was just in my mind that it looked like the perfect way to sort of distill down what was interesting about that project.
Yeah. So with Clovers, I was super excited when that came out. I love just seeing new creative stuff come out here. I mean, it just, I saw math and I minted some tokens early on. I thought this is just so funny. But with Clovers, I actually set up the Discord for that. I was the original moderator of that. I invited Billy from Telegram, who's the creator of Clovers, and set that up, got it going, tried to figure out, well, what's rare here? How rare is a 5 sim? How, we started talking about curating stuff like, well, how do we create new rarity categories, like faces even? That was exciting to me. But yeah, I actually hadn't really considered that one and how it sort of translated naturally to faces too. That yeah, people really did see them there and they loved that and sharing. I remember seeing like a cat clover, and there's just some weird ones that came out like that.
So you guys, you sold out in what, 5 days was it from launching the contract to 10,000 being reached?
I think it was 4 days. So launched about 6 p.m. on Sunday, sold out. I think it was around like 25,000 blocks, maybe not quite that many, something like that. But it was a little, I want to say we launched the burning contract when I was at work, and they got bought out. So I think just shy of 4 days.
And what's the burning contract?
It's a stupid word I came up with. It was this concept that I came up with to just sort of like have just a funny, just ridiculous event at the end. I should have named it something that was easier to say in hindsight, but ultimately what it was.
You might have to spell it for us.
Yeah, it's like burn-in, but with an ing at the end of it.
Yeah,
so the burn-in ning.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
like it.
So I love memes. I love just making fun of stuff and not being too serious. So yeah, I mean what the burn-in contract does, it was another contract that buys from the main Chainfaces contract. And whenever it buys a face, it can't do that has no functions to transfer or do anything. It's just they're stuck. And then so it was buying faces starting at ID 9,000. It was just buying one face every single block. So as soon as I launched it. The guy Ethereum, who I met through the Chainfaces project, he actually built the burn-in contract for me. I hit him up and we talked about it a little bit, and it's just hilarious. The comments in his code, just the function names he came up with, it's just super funny. It just fit with what I was looking for exactly. But he built that contract. It bought the faces. It just holds them forever. You can't do anything with them. And then at the end, we transferred the ownership of that contract to another contract that I wrote that literally does nothing. And it says so in the comments. And it's just a hilarious Rube Goldberg way of sending it to OX00001 or whatever. It's just, those faces are gone forever. They're part of the 9,000 to 10,000 history.
So it's buying those faces with the money that was generated through the sale of the faces, is it?
So I funded that bot, and it was a waste of. So I guess actually, if I hadn't done that, it would have raised more money because all of that money just kind of cycled through. I would send money to the burning bot, it would buy, and then the faces are stuck and they're gone from the ecosystem, and then ultimately the internal transaction would send some money to me and some money to the reward pool. So it was. I think it ultimately bought like 300 faces that it took out of the ecosystem, and I pushed a new API last night that shows all those faces with a green background. That's just to indicate they're in the burn-in contract.
How did it select which faces it was going to buy?
So it minted them from the contract.
Okay, right.
So yeah, it starting at ID 9000, it just started hammering the contract every block, just buying one face. And I announced it, I pushed it on Twitter. I was like, this is it. Like, you got 1,000 blocks and this thing, that's the max.
Right, and now it's the race against the bot.
Yeah, exactly. So, the idea to me, I had actually expected the burning bot to buy a lot more. And I thought that the 9,000 to 10,000 ones would be, hey man, there's only 1,000 of these that are actually existing. But it bought a little over 30% of them.
Oh. I mean, it's an interesting dynamic, isn't it?
It's very cool. It adds to the story. Yeah. I like it. I like that it will become all part of the history of this project. I think it's so exciting to see these projects come to market, I guess, because they're effectively like taking their place in the history of these things that have been created so far. When we talk to the CryptoPunks guys, and I think everyone who's in the space currently gets a sense of seeing new things come to market, and that they're actually really important for pushing the space forward, and also for securing their space in the whole sort of history of the birth of the NFT space.
Yeah, totally agree.
And you've managed to do that. You've written your own chapter. Nice one.
Yes.
It's very cool. So clearly it's been hugely popular. The Discord is jam packed. Lots of more creativity is seemingly floating to the top. People have got all kinds of ideas as to how to, I don't know, take it on even further. What are your plans with it? Is it right, line in the sand, that's it, next thing, or are you going to continue to play with it and see what the community come up with, and tell us about that?
Yeah. So for me, I really, hopefully nobody from my work ever listens to this. I won't be sharing with them, but I do engineering there. Just have been burned out so much. I'm just way more interested by what's going on in the NFT world. It just is so much more interesting to me. So, ultimately, I want to make a push into really doing this kind of stuff just full time. I'm going to go to the ETH Denver conference next month. Maybe I'll make it to the New York NFT conference. I just want to do some more networking, get to know some more people, push out more projects. I have some ideas actually for introducing some deflationary mechanics into Chainfaces themselves, to where I won't really reveal anything yet because nothing's been built. It's still pretty conceptual. But where I want to incentivize people to have to choose, do I really want to burn this face? I got a set of twins here, so I don't really need both of them. But do I really want to burn one? Because I want people to look back in 2 years and go, shit, I threw away a face that is now what punks are today. That's kind of... So I'm thinking about how that model could work. I'm thinking about a future DApp where you have to have a face, and it costs you a face to get this new thing that's everybody's going to want. And it's just going to be a sort of a snowball thing. So yeah.
Man. Now I'm questioning whether I've got enough faces. No.
They're still cheap, George. You can go and buy some.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm on my collection. 6, 7. Yeah, I'm not sure I've got enough. Okay. The FOMO. That's one of the things you have to get used to in this space, is the FOMO. It's okay. I get it for pretty much everything.
Me too. I've bought a ton of crap over the last Not crap. A ton of stuff.
Yeah, but is it though? Is it crap though? We don't know yet.
Yeah, that's the thing. You never really, I was mega FOMOing on punks. I guess about a month ago, I put out a bid on number 0. I put out bids on some aliens and stuff. Nobody bid, of course, but and then I bought my Twitter avatar, which is that it's the choker pilot punk, which is like the rarest 2-trait combo. Which I showed somebody, and they just think, what are you doing? Dude, you spent $1,000 on just a little picture. Like, what are you thinking? And I don't even try to explain it to him anymore. I don't know. I just like it. It's just cool,
We meant to buy a load of punks before we did our episode, and then and we did our episode with them, and now they've shot up in value ever since.
Obviously,
like everything. I think that's one of the things about this space is like we're having this wonderful journey, Luke and I, through this incredibly creative space. But then we look back and we've we were concentrating on doing the episode instead of buying this stuff. We've got voxels mania. Luke and I mean, we're like land prospectors at the moment. You should see our collection, right?
Nice.
And like we're buying this stuff for like 10x what it was when we first looked at like more. Right? It's turning out to be really expensive, this podcast for us.
Let's start this podcast and make a ton of money.
We should just be buying stuff. Anyway. It's all exciting and enjoyable. That's certainly the case. So you've got more ideas in the works. You've got more projects in the works, and clearly you're pretty deep into what's going on. So in terms of next projects coming along, is it Chainfaces for a little bit longer, or are you going to help others with other projects, or are you going to go charge ahead into something new?
So. Tiny boxes, I had thought about revisiting that one as being maybe my next one.
Can you give a bit of color as to what that is, or are you going to keep it secret for a bit?
The best way to explain it, so ETH developers would just hate it. I showed Ethereum, the guy who wrote the burning contract, I showed him the code, and he was like, I don't know if I hate it or if I think it's genius, but it's what it basically does is it generates, they kind of look like glyphs. But it generates a bunch of shapes and a bunch of colors and like a bunch of boxes. It's hard to explain without the visual, really. But anyway, it randomly generates them. There's some rarity scheme stuff to that for collectability. There's a much lower cap than Chainfaces and going to be much more expensive too. But anyway, the idea behind it is that all of those shapes are stored into just a massive blob of SVG text. So you can take that SVG, drop it into an HTML viewer, and there's the exact art that it created. So that idea was inspired really by what Jim, I mentioned a little bit earlier. He's doing a project called Avastars. I'm not sure if you guys...
Yeah.
So all of those faces are going to be, more faces, but all of those are going to be, the art will be on the chain. And this is something that we've talked about a bunch, where we say, it needs to be on chain. Like it's so stupid how, I hate to say stupid because maybe people will figure out ways to retroactively add that stuff. But, and I spent a ton of money on CryptoKitties. And so, I mean, I see some value in the brands. And I see value in off-chain art as well. Assuming the brand is strong enough, assuming the metadata is strong enough to at least sort of recreate what was there. But what he's doing, he's going to take all those faces and all of them will be on chain, so you can collect them forever. But that inspired the tiny box idea, and Jim is doing it a little bit differently. His art's a lot more involved than what the tiny box project was. But tiny box is it's just I don't know, it's like 5,000 characters long of SVG text. It took like 4 million gas to make them. It just was stupid how expensive this stuff was going to be in gas, and people were just going to hate it. But I just thought, that's what, make a statement. Let's put this art on the chain. Let's make everybody conform to what we're doing. We've been having conversations with OpenSea, saying, hey guys, like we're serving you, these APIs. We really think that we want to put that stuff on the chain, so you're pulling directly from our contracts and not some server that we're hosting or spinning up.
Yeah, We're looking forward to the Ava Stars launch. Jim sent us some stuff about it when we first started.
Nice. Yeah,
it'd be interesting to see what it's like when it comes out. I understand it's going to be quite expensive to put all the SVGs on chain initially.
Yes, yeah, it will be. And so they're doing it kind of bit by bit. So maybe in a indirect way, that sort of made me think, hey, I'm going to build the faces in the 5 pieces. But he has all of those pieces of SVG for the 12 traits of an Avastar and storing all of those one time, but then you can generate all the Avastars from those pieces. But yeah, it's going to cost him, I can't remember what the last estimate was, but it's going to be several ETH at least.
So I've been trawling through your Discord, and it's amazing for such a young channel. There's so much there, and trying to keep up, even looking back on it and trying to skim through it relatively quickly. So many events have happened in the last week.
Oh yeah.
So there was a number of things that went wrong.
Yep.
Or there was a couple of things. And there was a cheating incident as well, which would be interesting to talk about.
Yep, there was a cheating incident. So that guy Zoma, he actually was 2 cheating incidents, and I ended up paying them both off. I messaged them and said, like, guys, people were having fun, and they both said the same thing. Like, we didn't want to ruin everybody's fun. We just wanted to see if we could exploit it this way. I'm like, well, whatever. So I bought those cheater faces from them. The one was a Golf 7, which is just outrageous. It's like 1 in like 400,000 chance, or something. It's just stupid. So I bought that from Zoma, and I bought the other 10 back from some guy named Chainface Man, which is probably Zoma also. I don't know. But anyways, I paid them off. I bought those back, and that's when I came up with the burn-in concept. I said, I need to finish this sale as fast as possible before somebody else does the same damn thing and have to pay them out too. So ultimately, I mean, I kind of embraced that as the history. Like, it would be one thing if one guy had came in and minted, 100 faces that were Golf 7 or some, and that would have just been terrible for the project. So they did it once, they stopped, I paid them for it, moved on from it. Some other fuck ups that I had were in the contract, I updated the symbol set kind of late in the game, and I really shouldn't have done that, although it did make it a lot more interesting, I think. Some of the symbols that were added, like the angry mouth, I think I thought it was a mustache, but people called it the shark. But I added some of those symbols late in the game, and I had to update some code, and some copy-paste code carried over with the wrong number, and I didn't catch it. So when I launched, some of the symbols weren't actually available. That's all in the Discord. So like the mouths, there actually were smiley face mouths and frowny face mouths that just totally got left off. So that was screwed up. The 2 attacks. Oh, another. I had said we're gonna do this for 30,000 blocks, which is 5.5 days, something like that, and that was supposed to be hard coded in the contract, and I left that part commented out. So screwed up there. But we finished before 30,000 blocks, and I'd made that verbal promise, and that also sort of was part of the burning as well. Make sure I get this thing out there. We close this thing down. We'll prevent attacks. We'll beat the 30,000 verbal promise that I made.
It seemed on the Discord that actually the person that was most concerned about it was you. Everyone else didn't mind that there was missing. There were fewer smiley faces, and the community just wasn't worried about it at all.
Yeah, I really beat myself up the first day, and I think, I wasn't really enjoying myself till probably at least 24 hours after the project, and then that's when I started having really fun with it. I saw the community; they were just being awesome. Like I said, Smurf stepped up and made that bot, which was just so cool. Blur was making some cool statistics, sharing that kind of stuff. So it all kind of came together. I started having fun with it, started just goofing off in the Discord all day, and it just that really just made it kind of a blast, made me sort of forget. In my own vision, it would have been better with smiley faces, frowny faces, but it's all part of the history now.
And how did the exploit work? So, as I understand it, please correct me here, the randomness of the faces was generated by the last 5 blocks mixed with the salt, which is the number that you choose. They were taking that data and crunching it with loads of different salt variations to try and find the best faces, and then quickly submitting it to the network?
Yeah. So with the Zoma attack, at least, so what you're supposed to do, this was really a newbie Solidity mistake for me, but what you're supposed to do is include the current block as well. So that way you can't run off chain. But what Zoma was doing, and I don't know how many GPUs or whatever he was running with. I don't know if he was using a cloud or what, but he was running tons of seed numbers against all the blocks off chain. And then whenever he found one that he liked with his script, he would send a fast transaction with that seed, 100 gas it or whatever. And he tried several times before he finally caught one. But then that was the 7 golf, which it never should have happened. I should have ran the stats first thing. I should have known if anything's above really even a 10 is pretty amazing. But anything above 11, 10, there's probably something going on. The Chainface Man exploit was a little bit different. And that actually, I've seen it before. I think they used it on FOMO 3D. I've seen it on Tron before. And I knew that it was, I actually did know that this was possible on Chainfaces. I thought, well, most of the hackers, they're not interested in NFTs. And I made the mistake of thinking it's still going to be impossible for them to hit a golf 0. I totally overlooked the fact that, well, shit, they'll just try to hit a golf 10. So that was just an oversight on my part, really.
So if I've got a golf 20 and a bear 32, is that good?
Golf 20 is pretty good. Yeah, actually, both of those are pretty solid scores. I have a plan to come up with a combo score between the two, because there are some that can go under the radar that are actually extremely rare. And so I plan on adding to the API a combo score of the two. So hold on to that one, I would say.
Okay, that's good. That's good to know. Luke, am I right in remembering we've got butt cheek face somewhere?
Yes. I was so pleased with that.
That's a keeper too, right?
100% symmetry. That was great.
Great stuff. Well, we'll definitely keep those ones back for a future day. We'll put them up in our voxels cage.
Awesome.
once we've got that made, which is all good fun. What are your favorite projects in the space? I mean, clearly, autoglyphs and various others have come up in conversation. What gets you excited? Are they always on chain ones, or what's floating your boat?
So right now, I had Punk's FOMO this last month. Really, autoglyphs, since I happened to be around when they launched and happened to buy a lot. I still love autoglyphs. I just haven't really been a buyer for a while. CryptoKitties, I always go back there. I have a huge collection of, I got 2 of the 100 founders. I'm a mod in that chat, so I have a moderator exclusive cat, and I got just an enormous collection there. But outside of those right now, I'm still kind of waiting for the next big thing. I think Avastars is going to be a hit. I'm going to definitely be buying a founder or 2 or 3 maybe. It depends on how expensive they are. But I'll definitely be jumping into that. Ethereal, he actually launched his own project recently, so he was inspired by the face. It's probably the same kind of thing that I had with the math contract. I thought, it can be simple. I can do it. He launched Bits for AI.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Which is a funny. I love the premise. That is funny to me. He talks about how future AIs. This is art being created for them, which is. He talks about the paperclip crisis and some other things where it's kind of terrifying, but it's also just funny. It's kind of whimsical, but so that's one I bought a couple hundred yesterday of.
Oh no, I've got another project to go and look at now. What was it called? Bits AI.
Bits for AI.
Bits for AI. That's an awesome concept. I like that.
Yeah, he shared the paper with me, and I thought, dude, that's just genius, man. And like when he wrote the burn-in contract, I thought, I read the code, and I just was just laughing out loud at it. Like it was funny. And I just thought it's also funny that maybe 10 people will even bother to read it or even find it's funny. But it's like an inside joke amongst just the nerdiest, just of nerds. It's just funny.
I was seeing how people are combining faces with math, with RGB and numbers.
Oh, yeah.
Who came up with that? Was that happening before?
So RGB was going on in the background while I was running through faces. I didn't really get to appreciate what that one was. And then Alex from math came up with, what is it called? The Tune project, which I think that is hilarious. I love that. I can't believe that slipped my mind. I made I made the bear one with the little crown, and I bought somebody's hat and put it on number 1 ID. But yeah, that was Alex and Kai. Kai is the guy who cracked the CryptoKitties genetic code long ago. So he's sort of.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he circled back into the space, and we're all friends, and we all talk about projects. We talk about on-chain art. We talk about what we think should be happening, and there's a group of us. We just kind of brainstorm these things, and now we're finally starting to try to do something about it, really. But yeah, that was Alex's creation. Actually, Alex, we're meeting up in Denver. We're going to be, hopefully, I really hope that we can push out an NFT project there, because he's extremely talented. I kind of know what I'm doing a little bit, so hopefully with his talent and me just being there, hopefully we can come out with something.
Oh, that'd be cool.
I mean, if you want to do gerbil faces, you can go for it.
Great idea.
You can have that one.
Collab. Yeah.
Collab, exactly. Yeah. That's super exciting to hear.
We're playing with ideas on how we can do something interesting with a sort of an offshoot of gerbils. So we can have personalized gerbils.
Yeah, it's such a hugely creative space, and the on-chain off-chain thing is really interesting because it feels like you're getting closer to a sort of slight sense of purity when it's on-chain, although there are obviously constraints with where we are currently with the technology, which pushes some projects down one route versus another. It's really nice to think about experimenting with either, and we're certainly doing that, aren't we, Luke? Playing around with where these things could go.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, Nate, thank you so much, mate. It's been so much fun to talk about this project that you've created, and I think if we stay in touch and just give us a heads up on any of the other interesting things that you're working on, we'd love to talk further about it.
Awesome.
And Luke, have you got anything else on your mind?
Nate, where can people find you?
So on Twitter, NateAlex6677 is the handle that I'm using. On Discord, I'm in CryptoKitties channel. I'm in. I can't believe I forgot to mention Token Smart. Token Smart channel, all things one-stop shop NFTs. It's actually where I launched the sub-channel for Chainfaces. Sort of settle shield on the general channel because I'm friends with guys at the top, and it helped me. They weren't, they didn't love that, but anyways, some friends started that channel, so it kind of.
What are friends for, right? Come on. Exactly.
So yeah, you can find me, Token Smart. You can find me CryptoKitties channel. You can find me Crypto Gaming Talk channel. You can find me on Discord. If you're in a DApp that is popular, I'm probably in there.
Well, I think we've covered everything.
Awesome.
It was great fun, and
yeah.
I'm gonna go and try and prise some Chainfaces out of the hands of those. You've got, so that I can get slightly more. I can get slightly more than I do. I seem to do this at the end of every one of our episodes. I'm like, right, I'm going to go out and buy more. It's an expensive habit. So yeah, thanks so much, buddy. And let's catch up again soon.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Okay, thanks very much, Nate, for coming on and chatting to us.
Yeah, mate, that was great fun. Really insightful and cool project.
It is gerbil time. So if you're new, each month we mint a set of gerbils to commemorate the show. We give you a name and you come up with the stories for the gerbil, and then we create the artwork around those stories.
That's it.
And mint a limited set of those gerbils and send them out to everyone who got involved and sent us an entry.
That's it. Absolutely. We've been having a lot of fun doing this throughout the podcast. And this month one is DeFi Gerbil, and we've had some great responses.
Yeah, I'll start with WhereKitty1. Thank you for your entry, WhereKitty. The DeFi Gerbil stretched out happily in the sunshine. The laws of math and physics kept that warmth coming down at regular intervals without him having to push it out of the sea each morning. That's convenient.
I think WhereKitty is describing how DeFi is a foregone conclusion, wouldn't you say? You know, with the fact that the maths and the physics of planet Earth requires no pushing. Am I reading?
As does DeFi. It's a natural thing to happen. It's like nature. DeFi is a natural phenomenon.
And it's very convenient, is it not? I mean,
it is.
Uniswap, it's highly convenient. Yeah, Compound even more. I mean, bring it on, right? Okay, moving on. Where are we? Dap Wizard. DeFi Gerbil had way too many pictures of cats, so he wrapped them up in an exchange for wrapped cat tokens. Then he went to Uniswap Exchange and traded those tokens for ETH, and then onto Coinbase to make that ETH into fiat. And then he went to the pub to make fiat into beers. Well, it's a glorious circle of how money moves around the system. It's very DeFi. It's the kind of thing a DeFi Gerbil would do.
It's brilliant.
It is. I mean, apart from the last bit, because obviously all money in DeFi needs to stay in DeFi. Isn't that the rule?
Oh, yeah. That is the rule. So then where do the beers come from?
Well, I don't think anyone talks about it.
I think maybe it's just the freshly bred cats. They're like the interest, aren't they? So...
Well, the problem is that cats could, in theory, be beer, and I think that's the process that Dap Wizard has gone through here. He's turned cat tokens into beer,
which is only possible with DeFi. So yeah,
right. Well, I guess that's very apt. Thank you, Dap Wizard. That was a great one.
On to our winner. Alan Falcon has won it this week
for the second time. Am I right in thinking?
For the second time, yes. He also produced the backstory for ICO Gerbil. So
I hear murmurs from the crowd, Luke. This better be good.
She used to occupy Wall Street, but what her fellow protesters didn't know was that only weeks prior she'd been a high-powered queen of the finance world, stepping all over the boys' club and raking in riches. But it never felt quite right. Protesting wasn't quite right either. One day, she bred 2 pictures of digital cats together, and it clicked. In this permissionless digital world, anything was possible. She got to work building, and when she was done, she was leading a mob of the people that were taking Wall Street down by making them irrelevant. They were making trades without the bankers acting as greedy, corrupt middlemen. They were funding projects and interacting with staking and bonding curves and quadratic voting. No longer the gerbil of Wall Street. DeFi Gerbil had helped the people to truly own their own finance.
Wow. That's amazing. That's pretty much what DeFi is all about, but through the medium of gerbils.
It is.
It's genius, really.
And we're getting a shout out to the gerbil of Wall Street there as well, who we've mentioned in previous episodes, but never came about.
It will, one day appear.
Well, I mean, the gerbil of Wall Street has already transformed into DeFi Gerbil, so maybe not.
Well, anyway, thank you so much, Alan, for that. We're going to create a vision of that in cartoon form.
Yeah, so I think this. I think the imagery coming from Alan here is fairly clear, and it's that. Mm-hmm. It's Wall Street, and it's banks, and it's crowds of protesters. Mm-hmm. And DeFi Gerbil is there, but she's not one of them.
She's transcending it all.
She's transcending it with technology. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. You'll have to see. Well, actually, we'll be releasing it with this podcast, so it will be available for you to see there.
Yeah.
So, on to the next gerbil, George.
Currently, at the moment, there is lots of conversation going on about intellectual rights, property rights, copyrights, etc. And so we felt it would only be right to have counterfeit gerbil as our next gerbil. we felt that there's many different ways you could come at this one, and think that it's gonna be interesting to see what we get back. Just get your answers in, get your thinking caps on, get your creativity going. Don't forget that the winners that we read out in the podcast, but the winner, we will create the artwork around your idea. You'll effectively have a Gerbil NFT minted specifically on your idea, which is obviously amazing. So get them in.
Find us on Twitter at NonFunGerbils. That's where you need to hashtag counterfeit gerbil as well when you're sending your entries. And visit our website, nonfungerbils.com, where we display all of our gerbils and we have all of our podcasts. And yeah, that's about it. This month we also did a Gitcoin grant, which was matched by the Ethereum Foundation. And there was loads going on. It was really interesting. Amazing to see what so many projects had donated to them. And we were pretty late to the party, so we raised a total of 18 DAI, which
huge.
We were very happy with.
Yeah, it's a start. It's at least 3 beer tokens.
It's already been spent. We bought we bought Delegate Gerbil a new wheel, a racing wheel, so he can get around to conferences.
Yeah, fair enough. We're in debt.
Yeah, the wheel was 19 DAI. But we probably should have locked it up in DeFi.
Yes, we'd have to lock it up in DeFi for a fair while, but
we should have converted it to ETH and then leveraged up.
But it's okay, because I'm pretty sure at the moment you can, if you want, get a loan off your NFTs. So, which might be a good thing to have in an upcoming podcast. Yes.
Well, I suppose if if someone can, I don't think any non-fungerbils have sold on the secondary market yet, as far as I'm aware. Maybe I'm wrong, but I haven't seen any.
It's only a matter of time.
I think the liquidity is low, and I think people aren't really willing to sell because of the amount of work that goes into getting them.
Fair enough. Yeah, it's true. High barrier to entry.
It is. But maybe that will be what makes them so collectible.
Great stuff, Luke. Well, Counterfeit Gerbil it is. Thanks everyone for listening, and we will talk next time.
Yeah, see you in a few weeks.